see here. Hello, broadband professionals. Welcome to our Getting to Know Your Board of Directors series. Today we'll be talking to Matt Lee, our treasurer. Matt is a Michigan native, holds a degree in organizational management from the University of Arizona, and a graduate of UC Berkeley Haas School of Business. He is currently the Senior Director of Sales Engineering, Tier 1 Accounts at Vecima Networks. Before joining Vecima, Matt retired from Comcast after 23 years, most recently serving as Director of Access Engineering for the West Division. Hi, Matt. How are you today?
Good, Woody. How are you today?
I'm doing okay, just stumbling on my words a little bit, but I will get moving here. Tell us, Matt, what led you to a career in the telecom broadband industry?
Well, it's a loaded question because I didn't know I was going to get into the industry. So,
And
yeah,
many of us didn't.
it was one of these things of it just happened. So when I
Uh,
was 17 years old, I started working for the Holiday Inn in Flint, Michigan, and we ended up getting trained on the new computer system, reservation system that was going in, and I ended up helping one of the trainers troubleshoot one of the monitor connections. And once I did that, it seemed like it was pretty simple, a lot of common sense stuff.
uh,
But that really kind of kicked off that world into that telecom broadband because it spiraled me into other positions.
okay. Oh, that is an interesting story. So tell us about some of your roles you filled over your time in this industry.
Well, you can go back to that original. I was working at the hotel.
Hmm.
I wanted to own my own hotel. That was my overall goal. Believe it or not, at that age, but it really started to become they called it a kind of a global trainer
Hmm.
for IBM. That's where I started. So by the age of 22. I've been to 47 states, Canada, and the Caribbean, different Holiday Inn hotels, training people.
Okay.
Um, so ended up actually building a script for the IBM to actually streamline the deployments to shorten the number of days that we'd have to have technicians at different properties. So that was kind of my first major thing into technology, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I started working for a company called EDS, good old Ross Perot company. Started working Xerox Technical Help Desk, resetting passwords, and then got into networking, installing Cabletron networks for the General Motors Proving Grounds.
Okay.
So built in networks for across their entire campus that they had there. I did that for a while, and then went to a company called Global Crossing. So they owned all the undersea fiber cabling. So I became a global IP engineer. So I really enjoyed that job. It was really fun. 9/11 happened. That was not fun, but it was a lot of busy on the network. A lot of .com kind of blow up right after that as well. So I got an option to move to Phoenix to stay with the company or just take my chances. And so, really went into what industries provide something for people like when you move into an apartment or a house. I mean, that was my focus, right? So it's either healthcare, water, electricity, or telecom, right?
Yeah.
And so usually people sign up for internet when they move in somewhere. They sign up for TV. So that's where my kind of journey took me into Comcast for that first career
Uh-huh.
over in Dover, Delaware. So I moved from Michigan to Delaware with the family. And of course, there it was high speed internet launch, video on demand, digital video. And after about 3 or 4 years there, I went over to become a manager in Baltimore. So
Okay.
for the Baltimore metro counties for Comcast. And really that was where I made my leadership journey change. It's either you can be a working manager or you can become a leader. And so at that point, there was an outage. I ended up fixing it myself, which then kind of went into the team and I told them, I kind of failed you as your boss. And I said, do you want me to be, that manager that works alongside with you, or do you want me to be somebody that's going to help you grow as an individual. And so they all wanted me to help them grow. So that's where I made that flip to leadership,
Hmm.
and started my journey from there, around, how do I become a better leader? So went back to Michigan, believe it or not, after Baltimore. Went into my first senior manager role, working for the Midwest Division, transport, CMTS, all that kind of fun stuff, capacity. And then did after that division went away, worked in the LMCs, that were the XOCs nowadays, but worked in the LMCs. Ran a video team there. Create a whole bunch of different tools to help video on demand. Then I started my capacity gig at Comcast. So all over the country, New Hampshire, Atlanta, as well as California, working on capacity. And then, as you stated, most recently before the retirement was the Access Engineering team. So really launching that. Also launching systems integration team for Comcast. So quite a few different hats, I guess I wore. But that's really my journey, I guess, through the overall industry.
Yeah, that's quite an amazing path you took. Yeah, and lots of bouncing around, so you weren't afraid to move around. That's a big plus when you're working for a big company.
Yes, sir.
So how did you become involved in the SCTE Golden Gate chapter, or I should say SCT and Golden Gate chapter?
Yeah, I've been an SCT member for many, many years, right? I did that for sure, just because it's a group involvement. I think the very first thing I got more involved in with, I think, was WIT, the Women in
Mhm.
Cable Technology. That was very involved back on that. Gave a couple different presentations. It's interesting. I just saw John Grothendieck, who started the Greater Chicago chapter 30 years ago. And I remember doing a presentation for that chapter, and I still have the plaque somewhere that he gave me of thanking for me for doing a presentation. But it was just memories, right, about the overall industry, and again how there's so much involvement from the SCTE so that we can get technicians trained. There's so much opportunities for training that's out there, that most, I think, techs don't see that. And there's so many skills that they can learn from that. So I'm actually going to be doing some on-hand fiber training coming up in a couple of weeks. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Nice.
That's going to be at the Chattahoochee chapter.
Oh,
But So really want to get involved there. But as one of, I think, my overall goals for my leadership journey, I wanted to become a board member. And of course, being out here in California, living in the San Francisco Bay Area, Golden Gate chapter was right there. So really wanted to become more involved with that. We knew quite a few folks already on the board, so it was easy for me to kind of work through those phases. And I think I'm going on my second year as treasurer. I think it was assistant treasurer before. So I'm kind of working my way through that.
yeah. So what are some of the responsibilities for being a treasurer? What are you in charge of?
Well, money, right? I always like money. Always have. Uh, I think all of us like it, but I like actually managing it. So I'm very detailed oriented.
Uh-huh.
Excel spreadsheets are always fun. There's a lot of automation that can happen nowadays too, but it's always good to track things and predict kind of future analysis when it comes into money.
Uh-huh.
So really, it kind of suited me. It's no problem. But quarterly reports are always updated and good. We have to do reconcile between a couple different, the banking system as well as QuickBooks. We do that for the national chapter or national organization. But we've got a board meeting coming up soon, so I'll be updating the minutes for that. But just kind of providing those financial updates on expenses as far as any other revenue coming in. Big events for us, as you know, are the vendor day and golf outing. Those are kind of where we kind of hit our overall targets for the year and our budget. And we usually try to stay within that budget. So, but those are some of the monthly, weekly, on top of the normal job. That's kind of what I work through.
Yeah, I'd have to say, and I know some chapters probably struggle with this, but one of the great things about or one of the things that leads to a solid chapter is just great finance. And you do a great job at that. You stay on top of it. Let us know how we're spending, too much, too little. fundraising we need to do, et cetera, and keeping everything updated. It's quite a task, but one that's very beneficial to the chapter. So, just to get know you a little bit more personally, what do you like to do when you're not doing SCTE stuff or working?
Well, I think I'm going to work until I'm dead. But my my wife wanted a farm.
Uh-huh.
4 years ago, we bought a just a small farm. Whenever I'm not I'm working on the farm.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's everything breaks all the time. Everything costs a lot of money. It's so enjoyable.
Yeah.
But the benefit is you get to do things that you never thought you'd be able to do.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, Getting on a D6 bulldozer and grading land. Backhoes, hooking up all these different attachments to tractors. So that really keeps me busy. And it's fun because it's a different type of mental satisfaction.
Uh-huh.
We get that from our normal jobs, right? A stimulus from educating ourselves that way. But then there's also this really enjoyment of different type of thinking that's not as I consider it difficult, but it really helps me relax, and it's kind of a stress reliever. So that's very busy. We do like to do things like hiking. We do a lot of family hiking trips, outdoor camping, like tent, no facilities, right? It's like hardcore camping. We do that. My wife likes Instagram, so she does a lot of Instagram-ish type of things. So my job is to make sure that the champagne pours properly into the cup at the right time. So.
Wow, yeah, you stay very busy in your off time. Uh, are very active. That's amazing. So la I think the last thing is, do you have any recommendations for books, movies, trips, something that we should all think about?
Uh, I one of the things that I consider my second half of my life, right? I kind of started over again, and one of the things that I wanted to do was incredible things that I care with somebody I care about. And one of those visions that we had was if we are driving more than 30 minutes from our home, we always have to do something new, whatever that is. So it's not always repetitive, but always do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you have to do something. So it could be a trip to the beach, go to a
Mm-hmm.
different beach, not always the same beach.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we go mushroom picking, believe it or not, and foraging.
Mm-hmm.
So we could go to a couple different areas to do that. We never ski at the same place in Tahoe. We always go to different mountains. So always try to do something different. I think that kind of things is interesting to do. It can be simple things. Don't always go to the same grocery store. It could be convenient, but maybe you go to a new one that you never went to before. Maybe go to a farmer's market that you never thought about doing that before. Always support local farmers. But but no, I think that there's a couple good books. I just I don't have them off the top of my head. Coach Wooden always had phenomenal books about leadership. So there's always look at some of his. But no, those are some of the things I just kind of recommend to the group.
Oh, excellent. Well, I want to thank you for taking time to do this interview. I also want to thank the audience for watching, and it's always great to know who's leading your board of directors or the members of your board of directors. And Matt, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Woody. Thanks, everybody.